Good evening. This is the Lawrence City Council Committee on the Whole. I'm the Vice President of the City Council and the Chair of the Committee on the Whole. We have a 6 o'clock meeting, and I know that we're running a little bit late, so we don't have a quorum yet. We need 5 members this evening to constitute a quorum. I just want to thank Mr. Abdu, Councilor Dave Abdu, for being here, and I do expect that we will get a quorum. I just don't know when that will be, but as soon as we get to that point, we'll begin our meeting. So just hang with us, and we will start hopefully momentarily. Thanks. Good evening, councilors. As you know, we have a meeting on the whole, committee on the whole meeting this evening. And to be able to conduct our meeting, we need 5 members. And so there's 4 of us here. I want to thank Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Selena Reyes, and Mr. Abdi for being present. And hopefully we can get, I know that we've called and emailed folks, and I do expect a quorum this evening. So hopefully soon we will have another member and we can begin our business. So I just want to thank you and just ask for your patience as we wait for at least one more member to show up, and then we can begin our meeting. So thank you. Good evening, councilors. Tonight is Wednesday, December 15th, and this is the Committee of the Whole. I'm Vice President and Chairman of the Committee of the Whole, Mark LaPlante, and let the record reflect that Councilor Pavel Payano, Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez, Councilor Selena Reyes, and Councilor David Abdu are present here for the meeting. We do have 5 members. We do have a quorum, so we can actually begin the meeting. So at this point, would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Council, we do have minutes. Most of these minutes consist of the re-precincting minutes from that one three-day meeting. So is there a motion to accept the minutes? Motion made by Councilor Payano, seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We have one item this evening on our agenda, and we have one item on our agenda. That's document number 28221, a contract renewal to City Attorney Raquel Ruano, and that was put on the City Council agenda by our colleagues, Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez and Councilor Estela Reyes. Councilor Rodriguez, this is your item. Did you want to lead off as to how we should proceed with this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to, for item 28221, for the purpose of discussing the contract, there is an executive section anticipated, and if it is nothing else to add, I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive section for the purpose of the contract renewal for the city solicitor for the city of Lawrence.
There is a motion made to go into executive session to engage in discussions with respect to negotiations with the current city attorney, and under our Secretary of State's laws or regulations with respect to that, we are entitled to go ahead as long as we, of course, make mention why we're going, and that is to engage in negotiations and talk about terms, etc. And whatever comes from that meeting, depending on the outcome, may be brought back here, depending, of course, on the outcome. So the motion has been made. It's been properly seconded. There'll need to be a roll call vote. Councilor Payano. Yes. Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilor Abdu.
Yes.
Councilor Reyes.
Yes.
And I think I need to do this because it's a roll call vote. I need to mention the other councilors' names. Councilor De La Cruz. Duly noted. Councilor Anna Levy. Duly noted. Council Estela Reyes. Duly noted. Council President Kendris Vasquez. I think the motion carries. I mentioned, did I mention? I think I mentioned Councilor De La Cruz is not present. Okay, so with that, we are going, before we go into that, we do have the current attorney. Do you have some words that you wish to express to us, Councilor, or say something?
Yes, you do have to state whether or not you're coming back to convene an open session, or if you will not be coming back.
Thank you.
You do have to state that.
Councilor, is this your motion? So,
Yes, I believe that we should come back and do whatever we need to do after our executive session.
and that's amended as part of your motion. So I don't think we need to make another motion. Is there any objection to that as amended? Okay, so the motion is clear. At this point, we will. I guess we can do this. We can do this right in this room where we have more privacy, and people can stay here. I do believe, Maria Halloran, you can join us, because you're gonna need to describe the minutes, right? Okay. So do we need to go into recess? We're gonna go to the other room, it's probably better. Do we need to go in recess at this point, counselor or attorney? Do we need to go, make a formal vote for recess? Is there, she just said. So we're good? Okay.
If it's easier, if somebody just wants to text me, I'll come down to my office. Yeah.
Can you send the contract Is there a motion to come out of, we're out of executive sessions. Is there a motion to come out of recess?
So moved.
Motion made. Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Do we need a vote on? What's that? More fair? Motion to come out of executive session, made by Mr. Abadu, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are now out of executive session, and we're in full formal session at this point. At this point, Counselor Attorney Romano, what we expect to do at this point is that we had a very good conversation. We would like to continue that conversation, but as a courtesy to those who were here for a 7 o'clock budget and finance meeting, we understand that we need to conduct that business because as a courtesy to them. So what we're probably going to do, what I'll be asking is there I'll be asking for a motion to table and to recess, conduct our budget and finance committee meeting, then come out of budget, then come out of recess to continue this discussion as the committee on the whole, just so you're aware of that process. So yes. Is there so I'm looking for a motion to table. Start off with that one at a time. Motion to table.
Second.
Made by Councilor Payano, seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Is there a motion to recess and then to reconvene following the Budget and Finance Committee meeting?
So move.
Motion made by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Payano. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The committee on the whole is now in recess. I'll say that again, but this is the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. Let the record reflect that Councilor Pavel Payano, Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez, and Councilor Dave Abdu, and I'm the Chair, Mark LaPlante, the full complement of the Budget and Finance Committee are here this evening. We do have minutes. Let me start off. Would you all please rise? I know we did this with the committee a little bit for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilors, we had two sets of minutes. They should be in your book, August 25th and August 27th. If you had a chance to review, is there a motion to approve? Motion made. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Both sets of minutes. Document 28721, is there anything you want to bring to the council's awareness?
Thank you, Chairman LaPlante. Eileen Burnell from Lawrence Police Department, 257 Mount Vernon Street. We're here tonight with regard to this Equitable Approaches to Public Safety Grant, or EAPS. It's a $450,000 grant that's given out through the Department of Public Health from this Commonwealth. It was a collaborative grant that the police department applied for. So Chief Vask, who's represented by Captain Aguilar this evening, the Health and Human Services Director, Martha Velez, Community Development Office, Inspectional Services, and the Office of the then Mayor, Kendra Vasquez, all worked together on this proposal, and it was awarded. And the consultants that worked with us on the application is Mary Gianetti and Ann, and I'm going to say it wrong, Yeagle? Yeagle? Thanks, Ann. Woo-hoo. They're here with us tonight, and they're going to give you a breakdown on the overview of the grant itself, because it's so, it comprises so many different departments, but all the departments are here tonight if you have any specific questions on any area, and they'll break down the grant overview and the budget for you both. So if it's all right with you, I'd like to invite Mary and Ann up to do that.
Thank you, Councilor Brunel. So please come on up and one more time so that we can accurately place your name in our minutes. Could you just give your name and address and your organization, please? Thank you.
Sure, I'm happy to. It's Mary Gianetti, and I work as consultant writing grants hired through the Mayor's Health Task Force and have supported other departments here in Lawrence. And I'm here joined by my colleague Ann. And so we're very pleased that we were awarded this grant. Lawrence was one of 5 communities. The other communities that were awarded was Amherst, New Bedford, Revere, and Winthrop. And so, as Eileen mentioned, it's $450,000, and it has up to 5 one-year renewals. So it will be a total of $2.25 million that will be coming into the city. And the focus of the grant is to address substance use and mental health issues. So those underlying drivers that impact public safety and crime within Lawrence. And based on the data, taking a look at it, the population target is really males ages 19 through 49, as well as the homeless population. And it's really to engage community and the partners in coming together to develop a comprehensive public safety implementation plan. And then within the first year, to begin to implement one of those items that comes out in the plan. And one of those items that the Lawrence Police, as well as the Health and Human Service Department, is interested in is to developing a non-police mental health outreach support team. So this will be a team that includes a paramedic, a mental health clinician, and a peer counselor who can help support the police when they get dispatched for nonviolent, non-threatening 911 calls. They can spend time with the individual, assess what the situation is, and really hook them up with the needed services at that time. This is a model that's based out of Eugene, Oregon. It's called Cahoots, and it's been successfully implemented in other cities as well. And what they found when this has been mobilized is it does help with the jail diversion. It helps to decrease the amount of visits or that goes into the hospitals, and has been beneficial to address the needs and to dissuade some of the de-escalate some of the issues that happens on some of these mental health and substance use calls. So in addition to developing this team as a support for the police, it's really working with their community-based partners as well to develop a referral system, how they can make those timely handoffs for services. And then just will be engaging with the community members on how to develop that public safety reform and getting input from those who have lived experience within the mental health and substance use system. So I think at this point I'm going to invite my colleague Ann Yeagle up just to talk a little bit about what the budget will be spent on in the first year.
We thought it would be prudent, since you're the Finance Committee, that we should share the budget, so.
Well, that's awfully nice of you.
Thank you.
Let's get your name one more time. Are
Sure.
you with the same organization? Are you with the Mayor's Health Task Force or a different organization?
Yeah, the Mayor's Health
Mayor's Health Task
Task Force.
And how do you spell your name?
AYN is my first name, Ann.
Mhm.
And then Yeagle, YEAGLE, is my last name. Thank you. And so this grant is in the amount of $450,000 per year. And so how it is allocated is there is a proportion going to staffing costs. So there will be a behavioral health clinician to build capacity to make sure that the team is being supported, as Mary was talking about, the CAHOOTS team. There is an evaluation consultant to put the data systems in place for the tracking of it, for reporting, and also to just create better systems around this project so they will be sustainable later on. There are stipends for 3 people with lived experience to participate in the different committees that are happening around the project so they can provide their voice and really share their perspective, which will make the program stronger. There's training for our police and also for community-based organizations and residents around the different models that are within this program. There's also subcontracts with the different organizations that will be part of the CAHOOTS team, so the EMS, the behavioral health, and then community-based organizations, program supplies, as well as some allowances just for food and transportation as issues arise as the team is out there. And also there will be a new van and tablets for part of this, and the van will be fully equipped according to the CAHOOTS model. It's really state-of-the-art, and so kind of the next step once this is approved would be reaching out to CAHOOTS and customizing the van for Lawrence based on what will work for them. Anything? I think that's good. Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Absolutely.
You mentioned that this is going to help buttress 911 calls under the criteria that you mentioned. They're non-violent, et cetera. When I'm thinking of a 911 call, it's not for jaywalking usually. It's something far more substantial. So give me an idea, give me a flavor as to what kind of phone call do you see, whether it's happening in Oregon, and what is it called, CAHOOTS? Is that what you call it?
That's the name of
Okay.
the model that we're using. I don't think in Lawrence that's what
Okay.
it will be called, but that's with the evidence-based model who has been doing this for some time. And the type of calls is intoxications, maybe mental health, or a dispute resolution when there's and non-violent and non-threatening. And I will defer, I don't know if you have others that you might think would be appropriate for this, but that's part of the planning, is to determine which calls would be appropriate.
But I will tell you that one of the things that comes to my mind is our homeless population, where my understanding is there's a large number of people with that are dealing with mental capacity and issues, and so emotional issues, and but there may not be a crime being done at that time,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
So that no one's calling 911. So is there a function that's going there to be helpful?
Yeah, you know, that you raised a really good point. So beyond just the 911 calls, this team could also do follow-up, that they get referrals from the police department or the hospitals to say, could you do these safety checks? But they also can go around during the day and for that population you just mentioned, because they may not be calling, but they may have needs.
So Ms. Yeagle, you were talking about the budget, and you were mentioning that there were certain elements, and I wrote them all down. What I don't have is a sense as to what's the biggest piece of the pie. Is that what's the biggest piece of that $450,000 pie? If you could speak into the microphone, it'd be helpful.
So the largest pieces are around the subcontracting and the behavioral health clinician for the coordination, and also the equipment for the van is quite a substantial charge.
There's a lot of things to talk about. I just want to make just one thing clear. So we will, if this passes in the full city council, we're going to see a reauthorization. So we're going to see you 4 more times to reauthorize this for $450 every time, right? That's how that's going to play out?
Yes.
Okay, that's one.
Yep.
2 is, you know, what the brilliance behind this is seeing what's happening on the West Coast, especially in Oregon, with respect to what's going on there and the movement that they've got going on there. and they're wanting to experiment and deal with the mental health aspects of this stuff. When someone's telling me that there's going to be a phone call for 911, is there going to be someone inside the police department with that kind of capacity, the mental health capacity and that expertise that's going to be riding sidecar along? I'm just curious as to how that goes. And I'm not even convinced that's the biggest piece of your pie, but I'm curious as to how that plays out.
We're going to speak to our subject matter expert.
And then I'm going to stop asking questions because
Yeah.
I can go on forever.
No, no problem.
Good evening to the distinguished council. My name is Maurice Aguilar, Captain, Lawrence Police Department, 90 Lowell Street, Lawrence, Massachusetts.
Welcome, Captain, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Well, to your point, the way that we see it, CIT has various models that can be utilized. We have just the follow-up model. There's a co-response model, cahoots, several models. But the way that we see it, to your question, as far as the call takers are, all our call takers are going to be CIT trained. That means that they're going to ask, if you will, some sort of triage questions, and they're going to, deduce from there kind of which would be the best response. I know it's, at first glance, a little bit difficult to imagine a call, but we have many calls of people who are not feeling well, people who are depressed. We have calls for service out there in the streets of people that are acting erratic, not necessarily committing a crime, but enough to kind of concern someone that they may be a danger to themselves and or others. Insofar as the way we see it, it's going to be an evolutionary thing. I think that, thank God, we received sufficient money grant-wise to eventually arrive at a cahoots model, which would be consistent with what Massachusetts has up on the Hill now with the bill on the Hill for 988. Instead of calling 911, they would call 988. But I think we're going to start off slowly. We're going to wade into this until the structure starts to fall into place, until we start to gather sufficient data. And we're going to do what's called a follow-up model initially. I'll give you an example. I was involved in an arrest, I think 2 months ago or so. This young man, turns out, had not taken his medication. There was more of an issue with his medication and his illness that caused him to act the way he did. But because he was acting in a certain manner, the police were called and subsequently an arrest was made. We're trying to get away from that. We're trying to give the most vulnerable people within our community a diversion from jail and try to help them and set them on another track with the medication and the help that they need, not necessarily law enforcement related. Unfortunately, as it stands now, we're kind of a catch-all for everything. And I think that there's ample evidence nationally to demonstrate that CIT models, the value of the CIT models insofar as reduction of service, more service to our more vulnerable people and the like, and the outcomes overall are many that we can speak of. But for now, we're gonna start off, Council, with the follow-up model, and then we'll keep progressing as it goes on and the structure falls into place.
Thank you. And I just want to, for the record, we've already approved some grant fundings for something, if not identical, but similar. It's not to the same amount of money. I remember taking a vote for mental health assistance at the police department level, and I want to confirm that money's been accessed. We have the money, and we're spending it. I'm presuming, correct? Are you familiar with that? What's going on, and how is that money going to augment or deal with this particular pot of money? Same thing or different?
No, it's all the same objective, but the COPS grant has certain requirements, as this particular grant has its own requirements. To an extent, some of the we're allowed some overlap in some of the ways that we can use it, and some of them are very distinct insofar as what they require. What we're doing now with the money that we have already, that the council's already approved, is we're slated for January to begin all police officers to be trained in the 8-hour, what they call the mental health first aid. And that's a very basic premise. It's just it's a one day for all officers to understand some of the signs of mental distress, behavioral issues, and that way that, they'll alter their approach. There's some of the questions that they ask for families and the like.
Yeah, for the duration of the time, I want to make sure we have money that we've already accessed, and we're maybe likely get more money accessed. I'm just asking the question of, is this going to grow the previous money and the current program? Or is this something completely different than the police department's, you're talking about the EOPS grant, is it completely different? Can you just speak to that quickly as to, is there two different things? Or is it gonna be one program that's gonna be dealing with mental health? Am I making my question clear? If not, I'll try again.
Yeah, I think that if I understand your question correctly, the answer to that is basically, they're two separate and distinct grants, but they will complement each other toward, the end goal.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was gonna request a sentence in terms of the budget and the allocation in percentage. Another question that I have, so the Kahoot model is an evidence-based model, and we're gonna be taking into consideration somebody else, another city or town information to start, right? So do you think that you can provide a good example as of how that's gonna look like and how we can adjust that to the city of Lawrence with some samples, and that way we can have a better understanding as of what's gonna happen? Thank you. And you just mentioned that every police officer gonna have at least 8 hours training under this grant, under a different grant, under a different grant. And this grant is gonna supplement the other or each other. I'm wondering what is the portion of this 450,000 on other programs or grants that are available that is gonna be towards helping those that are in need, because it was mentioned that the grant is being designed for mail from one age to another age. I missed that. But I mean, how are we going to be able to help those in need, perhaps providing services, and you also mentioned food and transportation on the budget. So how is going to relate it?
So that is the target population that we want to make sure that when there's outreach being done, that those are the populations, because the data shows that that's where the highest need is. But really, the services are available throughout Lawrence. It's not just a specific population. So whatever services that is put in place by the police, it's for the general public.
And what are those services?
So it would be the services to have the behavioral health therapist either accompany the police officer, or to do that outreach out into the community to the homeless population, if they are following up on safety checks, and to help to then connect them to the treatment or the social services that they might need at that time.
And my question comes because we have several programs, but at the end, the service that people that are in need are getting are kind of like not limited, but like sometimes that's not the focus. And I think that when we have this type of grant in front of us, we should be focusing on those that are in need, mental health. So at least provided with some type of, look, this program is available for you, we're gonna follow up with you, and we're gonna help you to, or guide you to get into those other programs that are on the tree.
So thank you, because my name's Martha Velez. I'm the Director of Health and Human Services, 155 Haverhill Street. So exactly that is what we want to do, and this is why we brought this collaboration together. And when it came before the Mayor's Health Task Force and we all talked about it, and we talked to the police chief, We knew that it all connected because as we saw COVID with mental health, and the Mayor's Health Task Force having a behavioral health working group that's been meeting through COVID, and how do we address the mental health of what COVID has affected, and then the violence part and the homeless part, how do we all come together? So our goal is to, with the police doing their job and us as the Mayor's Health Task Force and the Health and Human Services Department is really connecting with the organizations, the 20 somewhat organizations that are part of the Mayor's Health Task Working Group, the Behavioral Health Working Group, is really connecting services to people. And not only connecting them, but also addressing with these agencies what the services need to be, right? Because as we do a research, we could actually say when we go out to a mental health case and the police get the data, we could actually bring it back to all these organizations that are working with mental health and say, these are the gaps, this is what we really need to focus on, how do we change? And we create policy and system changes. So, to be able to get, a lot of people put in for this grant, 5 people got it, and Lawrence to be one of them, and it's 5 years, $450,000. This will be an impact to the city, and I think that we can learn a lot from it. So I respectfully request that you give it a good thumbs up.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. We're thinking the same way. I mean, I think it's important to actually help out those at the end. The last thing I would like to ask, and that way when you guys come back have those things, is the list, the very basic list of services that we provide. Because sometimes, like I said, we forgot about those. And sometimes we have a lot of grants going to different organizations. And I know for sure that the staffing is filled up. But at the end, what are the services? And if we don't ask those questions, I mean, you can blame on me. Not a problem. That's fine. The council want it. So they can provide those services. And that way everybody have that list of what need to be done and what is the services that those organizations are required to do with any type of grant. I don't know what type of grant is available right now and what we're providing to organizations. But just to kind of check that out and be able to have a clear list of services that we're providing to those.
So you're talking about the people that are part of this grant, and you want to see what services they're going to provide. So kind of like the subcontract that we're going to subcontract people to, you want to see what the services would be for that subcontract.
Yeah, and that's for this grant and any other grant that is attached to this grant as well. Perhaps any other collaboration that we're going to have with other services. If we're providing money to them, obviously, otherwise we
So
won't
the
be able to
subcontractors,
request.
okay, I just want to make sure that I understand what you're requesting.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Piano.
Sure, yeah.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Councilor Piano, seconded by Mr. Rabidou. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are meeting supposedly, and I say supposedly because we have a hard time with quorum lately, on the 21st, which is next Tuesday. So be prepared to answer any of the councilors' questions next Tuesday. So thank you so much for being here this evening, and thank you so much and congratulations on the grant award application.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn been made by Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Piano. Hearing no objections, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
Have a good evening.
Councilors, welcome back. At this point, I will be looking for a motion to come out of recess. Is there a motion?
Second.
Councilor Selena Reyes, seconded by Councilor Abdu. Made a motion. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it. We are discussing the city attorney's contract.
Motion to take document 28221 out of table.
Motion made by Council President, seconded by Councilor Payano. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's, all in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Wow. So I know that before we recessed, we thought that maybe some further discussions that we wouldn't need to take in executive session. And so what I'll be looking for right now is another motion to return back into executive session to deal with personnel questions and negotiations with the city attorney, knowing that this afterwards will have to be made public in a public discourse with the expectations of coming back out of recess into an open session.
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion. Seconded by Councilor Dela Cruz. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are now, I think we need a roll call vote, is that right? So a roll call vote on that. I'm just going to go around the horn. Councilor Payano? Yes. Councilor Dela Cruz?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Council President Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes, absent. Councilor Anna Levy, absent. Councilor Selena Reyes? Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Dave Abdu?
Yes.
We are now in executive, motion passed. We're now in executive session.
I'll make a. Councilor President, I would like to make a motion to get out of executive section.
Motion to come out executive session. It's been seconded by Councilor Dela Cruz. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We are now out of executive session and we're in open session. At this point, the committee has before it a document with a with a contract. Councilor Ruano, I don't think we can deliberate now. Is it? I need to get a motion from somebody at this point.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to send the current contract pending changes that we discuss to the full council as a committee report.
Second the motion.
So there's a motion, and it has been seconded by Councilor Payano. Discussion by Councilor Payano.
Yes, so Councilor Rodriguez, so I think, so your motion is to approve the contract, which reflects the current contract with the amendments of that, the dates reflects the new 3-year contract, bless you. The salary change that was discussed, and then also the third change is that going from 25 days vacation to 30 days vacation.
So yes, that's the motion with the changes of the date, changes of the vacation time, and changes on salary, and that's basically the minor typo. That's basically it. Those major 3 changes.
And so, the motion's been made properly. I'm just going to ask the author or the sponsor of the amendment. He has sent it up to the full council without a recommendation, but clearly there's a little bit more work, some cleaning up to do on that.
Yeah, that's
Can
gonna
we
be pending
make
the
it conditional on the fact that there needs to be that cleanup work so the contract reflects what it should reflect?
Yeah.
Okay.
But when I said that's pending the language of that we're gonna reflect those changes.
Is there any more discussion on this matter? Mr. Abdu?
How many votes do we need to pass? Is it a straight majority?
Committee is just 5 votes tonight. This is not the full council. And when it gets to the full council, I still think that's 5 votes, correct? I don't think, is it 6 for a contract?
I think I'll triple check because I think there's a thing in municipal law that you need 6 for a rate increase.
Okay.
I can get that to you.
Will you please make that part of the package? Okay.
I can. And just in full disclosure, I will probably have somebody else in my office research it because I don't
Understood.
sit there and tell you it's 5 and it's really 6 because it benefits me. So I'm just going to assign it to another attorney.
That works.
So
That
you will
works
get
for us.
that.
That works for us. So just everybody understands that's going to be assigned to a different attorney within the city attorney's office to research and provide that as part of the package that's coming back to the council. Yes.
But in fairness to you, through you, Mr. But in fairness to you, this isn't a rate increase. This is a new contract, right?
It is, yes.
So
I think we don't want to put her in this position to make it a legal opinion based on that. I think it's safer for her to let somebody else in the office make that
you know,
determination.
but I guess I was just asking, if I put you in a bad position, I'm sorry. Is this a rate increase, or is this, proposed, or is this simply a new contract? It's ratifying a contract.
That is the opinion that we're sending to the city attorney's office to provide us clear guidance on, so that we're not just saying, I think it's this way. I don't think, so we're clear. So, good question, and we need to get that cleared up by another attorney inside that office.
A decent question.
Maybe, still out.
But Mr. Rodriguez's motion is to send to the full council without a recommendation, but with the stipulated changes.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? I just wanted to, I asked the city attorney in executive session the question about process, so I will now ask those questions here at this forum. So, I have an opinion and more of a process question. my understanding is that this is part of our charter with respect to what committees can actually deal with this.
Okay.
And according to our charter and according by someone else in your office's legal opinion to us, this also needs to be heard by the personnel committee. So that's step one. So even if this goes to the full council on the 21st, by our charter, we cannot support or vote for this without it being at least heard and reviewed by the personnel committee, by our charter, by an opinion in your office. That's one. On the second point is I still want to get the documentation before so I can take a look at it before I have any comfort level on it. So that's the second thing. The third thing is some have alluded already to the fact that this council is about to end in about 2 weeks. We're bringing 2 new members in. The 2 new members in are going to be tremendously impacted by your work, and will be working together with you. I strongly believe that, and after looking at the time frames that was given to us in executive session, it can be made public. It's not a big secret. When your contract expires, I firmly believe that the new counselors should have that opportunity to see the work that you've done, to ask the questions you have, and be invested in the contract that we're maybe doing maybe in 5 days or sometime. But I think it's important that they, as a fairness to them, because if I was in their shoes, I would want to have, if I'm working with you for 2 years, I would want to hear, what have you done right? Almost like an ad hoc committee, which is what we're doing. They need to have that ability. And I don't see, based on the timing, I would like to see that final vote take place with the new council so that they have that ability. They can choose to exercise it or they can choose not to. But I don't want to take that away from the new city council who's going to be mostly impacted. So I'm not sure where this is going, but I do know by our charter where it needs to go, and I know where I'd like to see this go. I want to see this dealt with early in January, still keeping in mind the dates. We need to get something done by February 2nd. So timing is still important. We got to get it done. So we can't lollygag on this. But I do want that to make happen. So I wanted my colleagues here to know that. You may agree, may disagree, but that's my feeling on it, Councilor Piana.
I might not agree with that. I think, the full council can make the determination whether they want to table that or not. This question about whether that it needs the committee of the personnel committee. I know we have the chair of personnel, I think, yeah. I'm at a loss sometimes. Chair of personnel, is the personnel committee planning on meeting on Monday or early Tuesday?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, we don't have any business at this time. We certainly could always advertise properly, but we have no business.
Okay, well, we also have a council president here, so is there anything that can be done so that on Tuesday, we are able to, whether it's a vote to table or a vote to move forward, that it actually, it's moved forward?
So Vice President, can you please cite where states specifically that you have to?
Sure, I'll get to everybody.
Thank you.
You were given this email by Attorney Luton and your copy, an expression is incorrect. I understand you don't have the email, I guess we should have it on Teams, I understand why that's going to get.
So, my next question is, sounds like the council president can only refer, these types of items during a full council meeting?
That's typically where the referrals take place. As practice, we send that up, or the council president at the full council meeting may jointly send it, but it's always at the full council level that he sends that.
If I may?
Yes, so at the full council president can refer, or I guess in this situation, must refer it to personnel. I mean, the only thing I can say is that there's also a provision where the full city council can also vote to remove it from a subcommittee. So there is that mechanism, and there's nothing stopping that from never going to personnel, unless, there's something that stops it there. But there's the provision in the charter states that it has to go to personnel, and there's also provision where the full city council, I believe upon 6 votes, can remove something from
Council President?
Council De La Cruz, I also believe that's a rule, and maybe not in the charter. Council De La Cruz?
Okay, is there a way,
I'm sorry, would you just have the floor, Councilor?
Point of personal
A
privilege,
lot of
Mr.
stuff going on. Personal privilege, you've been slighted. How?
Councilor Rodriguez have been requesting the mic multiple times. The mic has not been, the opportunity to speak has not been given to him, awarded to him in more than one occasion. I respectfully request that Councilor De La Cruz yield her time to Councilor Rodriguez because the chair has failed to allow Councilor Rodriguez to speak. Councilor De La Cruz, respectfully, please yield your time to Councilor Rodriguez. Thank you for the personal time, Mr.
With all due respect, I didn't see Councilor, all this evening, I've been letting Councilor Rodriguez, I've not been looking over him at all. I saw Councilor De La Cruz. If I made a mistake on that, it wasn't substantial. Councilor Rodriguez, apparently the Council President has heard that you had the floor. I didn't see it, but I recognize you now. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. It is extremely frustrated because I'm being ignored multiple times, and I don't know why, but let's keep on moving the city forward like we always say we're gonna do. And with that said, if every personal matter should go to personnel, we also have Rule 7 and Rule 4 and Rule 11. I believe Rule 4 and Rule 11 that allow us to send it up to personnel and discharge that from the committee. That requires majority vote, 6 vote. But I think that having that in place will help this council to move this item forward. The second thing that why this was sent to this committee, it was because the entire city council, the 9 members, were going to have an opportunity to discuss this contract because it's extremely important for us to discuss it. And we were not going to have those questions that were not answered and just vote on something that is so important to all of us. Having those rules in place allow us to keep this business moving in any other particular business that we have. So I would like to just, if the recommendation is to send it to personnel, move it up and right away be able to discuss it at the full council. That's all I need to say for now.
The chair hears that. The chair also wants to make there's a distinction. There's a distinction between rules and the charter. The city charter cannot be amended, like there's no provisions that I'm aware of that allows by the city charter to dispense of the stuff, and that's the issue. Rules, 100%. If we were relying solely on the certainly could use the rules to suspend the rules, use the rules to discharge all the rules that are there. But this is a charter provision, not a rules provision, and that's a substantial difference. So, and I believe that our past practice, and that is that the chair at the full council level that's the time when the council president determines I'm going to send it to this committee because it's there in that committee. Did you want to let Councilor De La Cruz come first, or did you want to speak, Council President?
It's in light of that question. Is that the only time when the council president can assign a document or meeting?
I believe, you're really testing my memory here.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't want to place the city attorney in a position where
I move that motion.
I guess the motion is to send correspondence to Attorney Human to give us a recommendation on this matter. There were certain things that were proposed today. Is one can be, I'm sorry, Councilor Rodriguez, you mentioned a potential way for us to bring up the matter. Are there any potential ways or potential solutions for us to bring up the matter on Tuesday without it going directly to personnel?
So there's a motion to make communication. Did you get all of that? Communication to attorney for some advice on how to address and what are the options? Fair about the option of dealing with this issue now that it's where it's at. And it has been properly seconded, correct?
Discussion.
And
But,
discussion.
I'll yield the floor to
Discussion.
Maria.
Can you please get me in because I wanted to add to your motion?
We yield the floor to Maria.
Yes.
So De La Cruz.
The motion that you made, Mr. Rodriguez, I was saying that the president of the committee of the personnel is here. Do we have time to meet before the full council? We don't have that time. But can we avoid, are we allowed to avoid to send this proposal to the personnel committee? Can we avoid that? Can I add that to the
I believe.
Can I add that to the motion that it was made by Mr. Rodriguez?
I believe that's part of the motion. I think that's what they're trying to get at, is they're trying to figure out what options are there, that they're trying to figure out if there is an option that will allow for that to be, so there may be a referral to a committee prior to potentially the
Yeah,
Tuesday meeting. So
but we
that's
need to vote tonight for that.
That's the motion to send to the attorney to this, for an opinion by the city attorney. Anyone else? But before we get to the final motion, there's a motion on the floor for the communication. Any further discussion on what that motion is? If not, I'll call, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It's unanimous. We'll see what the attorney says on that. We now have the underlying motion, which is to send this up to the full council without a recommendation, just a reminder, with a clean copy. And with a clean copy, with the changes and then the cleanups that we've discussed throughout this evening. And you're going to send that up to the full council. And then we're also going to, I think that's it. That's it. Okay. So any further discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. The ayes have it. It's going to the full council without a recommendation. So there we have it. Motion to adjourn has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion, Councilor President.
Can we meet Monday?
Okay, no further discussion. So this is a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Oh, Mr. Abdu, sorry.
There was a comment mention of this. I'm going to be away. I will be back for the Tuesday meeting. I certainly would take no slight should the vice chair and the rest of the committee meet without me. But we don't have, someone mentioned Zoom, we don't have the virtual ability anymore, so I'll see you on Tuesday, because I leave Friday morning. But I'd recommend that path if that's what's intended here, to get it done by Tuesday.
There was one more thing. We needed to get the 6 versus 5 votes of the full council. That was the one thing that we needed to get the other city attorney on. I knew there was one more. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Councilor Reyes.
There's a possibility, as long as the documents also listed under old business and it is discharged from personnel. Personnel has reviewed it an hour earlier. It is discharged from personnel, so it is meeting the requirement for the 48-hour notice because it's been publicly posted with plenty of time.
Any more discussion on the motion?
Then we're gonna meet what day?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No, the ayes have it, unanimous. Thanks, everyone.